Everyone has moments in life they can't just stop thinking about. They can be embarrassing things, like that one time you face planted in front of a group of teenagers, or something amazing like the first time you hosted your family for the holidays. And on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, hosted by me, Keke Palmer, and presented by BMW, we know to savor the good memories and let go of the bad. And one thing everyone remembers fondly is their first time behind the wheel of a BMW. So come join me and BMW this summer as we explore pop culture moments and topics you just can't stop thinking about on Baby, This is Keke Palmer. Sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly minisode where we dig into the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. This week we're talking Spider-Man, A Spooky Rabbit, A Sad Show About Plagues, Optimism in Art, Queer Repressed Cowboys, and then Chame did a bad thing.
He certainly did.
He certainly did.
And happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays! It's Christmas Eve when this is coming out, which is very weird that it's Christmas.
Yeah. It's weird that we're here already.
It's weird that we're here already. It's weird that this year is almost over, but I'm glad it's almost over. But it doesn't seem like 22 might be much better. Maybe that's just me being a pessimist, but good God.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is that this fucking plague had better not screw up me seeing Scream on my birthday. That's all I'm going to say.
That would be an absolute nightmare. I'm so sorry.
I need my Scream.
It's true. On your birthday. It's
on my birthday.
It's fate.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. Well, I'm going to see The Matrix tomorrow, so hopefully I won't die.
Yeah, same.
But I have to see it because I've been rewatching all of them in preparation, and I'm very excited. I'm not going to talk about that, but I just wanted to mention that I'm rewatching all of them. Fucking slaps.
Yeah. So I think maybe next week we'll do like a big Matrix episode, maybe, because we'll have seen all four of them by then.
Yes. But speaking of big franchise entries, tell me about this Spider-Man.
Okay.
Peter J. Spider-Man. Or Peter B. Spider-Man. I don't know, whatever.
Okay, so I've talked in the past about how I'm not a huge superhero movie fan, and I haven't really been a fan of this cycle, I would say, of DC and Marvel films. I mean, some of them are decent, but like they're kind of not really doing it for me recently.
Like, when you say cycle, like, when did it start? Because I stopped watching Marvel movies.
Like Iron Man.
So like the okay.
Yeah, the Disney side of things, and then also the DC stuff post, like, I would say the Batman trilogy.
Yes, I keep forgetting. This is terrible. I forget that these movies that were made before, like the MCU, were Marvel movies. They don't have this, it's so different. Anyway.
So I mean, but Spider-Man, he's my boy. I love Spider-Man. I also love Spider-Man. And I've loved every single movie that they've done. Even the not so great ones. I think they're a lot of fun, and just mostly because I love the character. I love that sort of, like, I guess maybe the living dual life type thing kind of maybe hits home. I don't know, but it's always been like I don't know, my favorite of the superhero movies.
Well, he's not super buff either, and he's like not super buff, which I feel like Peter Parker is a little bit more like, oh, that's like a regular superhero body, not like a scary buff one. And I feel like that also is like, he's obviously buff, but like it's a little bit more relatable. He's not like huge and jacked.
Right. Although I'll tell you what, Tom Holland has turned from a twink to a twunk in this episode. Like, there's only one scene where he is shirtless, but I was like, good God, sir, thank Lord you are 25 years old, because good God.
So what else did you like about the movie?
So anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but this movie is the very first superhero movie that I've cried at. It is emotional.
Oh, wow.
And it is emotional from about like an hour. Like, I would say the last like hour and maybe 20 minutes of the movie is just like an emotional roller coaster of me trying to like not bawl in this crowded ass theater.
Oh,
it's really good. It pays off so many moments from the last 20 years, I guess, of Spider-Man movies. And it just, there's this particular moment where I knew the moment that something said that I was like, oh God. And then from there on, it was just like...
Is it with great power comes great responsibility? Because of course that line's going to make you fucking cry every time.
Well, it's also what it kind of heralds. And that made me bawl. And then for the rest of the movie, I was just like trying not to cry.
Oh.
It was an emotional time. And
that
it was
review
really
alone
good.
might get me to go see the new Spider-Man.
This is my favorite of any of the movies that have come out in Disney's Marvel universe. This is my favorite. Yeah, I think it's a 4.5 or a 5-star movie for me. I know a lot of people are like saying that it's pulling on nostalgia and stuff, but no, it's paying off so many disparate type storylines that have been created a couple different times, and I just it was an emotional experience that I was not expecting it to be, and I loved it, every moment of it.
Cool.
But that's enough about that. Let's talk spooky rabbits.
Let's talk spooky rabbits. We're talking about Caveat.
Yeah, because I saw you were watching it, and you had messaged me that there was a moment where you like screamed, I think.
Yeah, and I tweeted, I was like, why did Caveat because the Caveat did not have to go that hard.
And I was like, okay, I immediately need to watch this movie, because it kept popping up at festivals, and I kept being like, okay, I need to watch that one, and then I just never did. And holy cow, Mary Beth, I screamed.
Right? So, okay, listeners, Caveat it's streaming on Shudder. It is an Irish film. Irish? British? I think it's Irish. It follows a guy who he's released from prison or some kind of facility where he's been gone for a long time, and he's looking for money and a job, and his friend, associate, whatever, comes up to him and goes, hey, I have a job for you. I'll pay you this much money per night to look after my niece who has psychosis and schizophrenia, and I just need you to watch her for a couple days because her dad just killed himself. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Which, like, you fucking know that from the outright. And, like, as the title says, there come a lot of caveats, like, oh, the house is in the middle of an island. Oh, by the way,
it's only accessible from a boat, from one little tiny rowboat.
And, oh, by the way, you have to wear this full body suit that jingles so she knows where you are in the house because she doesn't trust anyone. And we used to, and he, like, is on a chain, and he's, like, chained around the house, and he can't get out of it because someone else has the key. So, like, from the get-go, it's like, this is not a good situation. And then it just keeps going as all these twists and creepy turns, and the whole thing is just like so uncomfortable and creepy and tense. Like the atmosphere from the get-go, and like it's just like, what is happening? And it just keeps ratcheting it up. That creepy bunny that everyone sees that plays the drum, it's like, it's not as big of as a figure as I thought it was going to be, but it's really fucking creepy.
And I want it.
I do. I want it too.
His eyes are so realistic. That was the creepiest part for me because they look real. Little drummer rabbit.
Little drummer rabbit. And so there are a couple jump scares almost back to back that are absolutely horrifying. And it's just like, I think this one deserves more credit of being one of the scarier movies of this year. I don't think a lot of people saw it, but I think it's one of the scarier movies that I saw that actually like had me having like big fear reactions, and I felt like a little shaken afterward.
Yeah, it's very oppressive, and I mean, shout out to the set design in particular. The houses. It's almost a cliche to say, well, the house is a character, but the house in this has so much character in it because it does such a great job of setting the scene of like, this ain't a good place. You in trouble. Why are you doing this? I just kept thinking, no. There were so many times where I was like, yeah, I'm noping out of this. I'm noping out of this. I'm noping out of this. Why are you allowing this to happen? And yeah. Really good.
It's really, really good. It's on Shudder. It's pretty short. It's just like, if you want to get scared, like this is a good one to like turn off the lights and watch and just like absorb the creepy. We don't want to give away any of the jump scares just because like they are so good. But I think this is a good one to watch if you want to be scared. I will say that. It's not as scary as like Terrified, whatever, but it's still pretty creepy. Like it will get under your skin. So highly recommend that one. Okay, but what is this I see about a sad show about plagues?
Yeah. Okay. So I meant to talk about this last week because it's when it premiered, and then we ran out of time. Between all the stuff we had to like cover, but I wanted to make a mention of Station 11, which is now playing on HBO Max. As of today, you can watch the first half of it. They released 3 episodes and then 2. So the first half is out there on HBO Max if you subscribe to it. I think it's really good. It's very heavy. It's very sad, but it's also kind of optimistic in a way. And it's kind of ultimately about the healing power of art and the need for art in a world that is facing the apocalypse pretty much.
Oh.
And so it's based on a novel by Emily St. John Mandel. It takes place at various times from, I would say, now up to 2040. And in the now, a flu wipes out most of the population.
Shut up.
And so the first episode is like, I know, it's very heavy. First episode is basically introducing us to this young girl who's an actress named Kirsten. And at her debut performance, the main actor for King Lear ends up having a heart attack on stage. There's a lot of chaos that erupts, and she is all alone until this one man that was in the audience is like, do you need someone to like walk you home? And so he like ends up trying to take her home as Chicago is going to hell with the flu, and he ends up being stuck with her because her parents end up dying. And so he's all alone with her and his brother in this apartment. And it has that, and then it kind of cuts forward to 2040, 20 years later.
Ew, 2040 is only 20 years late, 20 years in the future.
I know.
Ew.
Right?
Sorry, you said that, and I was like, oh my God.
I know. It's like 18 years in the future almost.
All right. Sorry. It's just,
And then Kirsten we're following her being played by Mackenzie Davis in the future.
I love her.
And I do too. And it flips and forth between Kirsten's story as a kid, events that take place between those time periods, and then also the ultimate end goal of 2040, as she belongs to this traveling troupe that kind of goes around and keeps the art of Shakespeare alive and goes to these little communities that have formed up and is like performing for them.
Wait.
And so, yeah. And so there's like this hint of optimism underneath a crushing despair of like depressing subject matter. And it's really good. It's slow. I don't think it'll be for everyone, but I'm really digging it, and I've been writing about it with Joe Lipsett. So if you're watching it, follow along with our recaps because we dig into each episode kind of hard. So
that sounds. I've been seeing it because we have HBO Max and watch a lot of stuff on HBO Max, and we see stuff for it all the time.
Yeah, if you're depressed about what's going on with the plague, maybe stay away. But other than that, I think it's less about, it's sort of in a way like The Stand, where The Stand is less about the plague than about what happens after. And this is definitely about what happens after an apocalypse pretty much wipes out most of humanity.
Is it like super actiony, or is it a little bit more understated, like a drama? Okay.
It's more of a drama.
Okay.
And the third episode is by far one of the best hours of television I've seen in a very long time.
Ooh, okay, cool. I'm excited to watch it. I also didn't realize it was, like, I just assume all, like, post-apocalyptic stuff is, like, fucking dramatic horror-y stuff and, like, action-y.
Yeah.
But I love that. Yay. Okay, cool.
There are bursts of action in this, because there are some kind of bad people in the future, but, like, I would say that's not the main focus of it. It's more about these damaged people coming together.
Cool. Jesus Christ, that sounds a little too close to home right now.
I know.
I can't do Shakespeare. I'm fucked. I'm just...
There's one funny part where this guy is trying to audition for the troupe, and everyone has to audition with Shakespeare. He's like, I don't want to audition with Shakespeare. Can you just please let me do audition with this one thing? And it ends up being the speech from Independence Day, the president's speech. And he ends up auditioning with that to be part of the troupe. And it's like, wait, is this Bill Pullman? Yeah. That's
incredible. I also that he has that committed to memory, and through the apocalypse still has that in his mind. Like, that's
right?
That's incredible. Okay, cool. That also sells me on the show.
Okay, but I really need to hear about this queer repressed cowboys, because I know what it is and I've been meaning to watch it, so I want to hear everything. Tell me everything.
Okay, so this is The Power of the Dog by Jane Campion, who is a champion, who did In the Cut that we covered a couple weeks ago.
Hell yeah.
And then The Piano and Bright Star. So she's an incredible director. It's been a long time since, I think 12 years since her last movie. So she's back, baby, with one of the most beautiful and devastating movies I've ever seen.
Wow.
So Benedict Cumberbatch plays Phil, and he and his brother, played by Jesse Plemons, George, are running this ranch. It's a pretty successful ranch. They're pretty wealthy, but Phil is really, like, alpha male. Like, always puts people down, is, like, very kind of gruff and cruel. But also he's respected by all of the stable hands, because he's also fair and pays well and treats them well, but is also like scary as shit. So he's like one of those leaders. And so when his brother George gets married to Rose, played by Kirsten Dunst, who is his wife in real life, she moves in to their ranch with him, and along with her comes her son Peter, who's played by Cody Smith McPhee, who was in Let Me In, the remake of Let the Right One In. It's very funny seeing him as a grown-ass adult. So when they move in, the dynamics really change, and Phil starts, like, harassing Rose, harassing Peter, and then these, like, dynamics sort of shift in a really interesting way that leads to a pretty shocking conclusion that I thought was pretty fucking genius and incredible. Which I will not spoil, because watched it, like, when I pieced it all together, I was like, she fucking did that. Sort of like what we're going to talk about in a little bit, about the erotic thriller that we're going to talk about. But, like, it is beautifully shot. So it was filmed in New Zealand, but it looks like the American West. So this takes place in the 1800s. So it's just, like, beautiful sprawling mountains and cows and this beautiful giant house. And it's all about, like, repressed sexuality and repressed men and toxic masculinity coming together in this, like, nasty soup. And Phil, like, this isn't necessarily a spoiler, but Phil is it's implied that he's gay. Like, and it's never said, but Peter finds male, like, porn with naked men in it, and there are, like, some really erotic moments, but, like, just with Phil by himself. So there is this, like, a lot of queer gaze and desire in the film, especially, like, in the last, like, back half of the film. And, like, the first half spends a lot of time, like, establishing the really weird dynamics going on, and then the last half is, like, an emotional gut punch. And it's beautiful. It's just so good. Like, Benedict Cumberbatch fucking kills it in this movie. Like, you hate him and also feel a little bit bad for him. So he just, like, strikes this interesting balance of a character who, like, has no idea how to express himself, but is trying to figure it out. I don't know. It's just really incredibly complex and beautiful. And it's one of the best movies of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah. I wanted to see it. I saw the trailer and I was like, is he queer? And so when you saw it, I was like, I had to text you. I was like, okay. Like,
is he gay? I was like,
I was like, is this queer? Is this a queer story? Because that will immediately, like, move it. I'm not a huge Western fan, but I was like, but that will immediately, like, move it more to the top of what I want to see. And I've been meaning to watch this. I think I might watch this weekend.
You should. It's really good. It's long. But it's 2 hours and 7 minutes. Like, that's long, but it's not as long. I thought it was, like,
it's
much
not
longer.
Eyes Wide Shut long.
It's not Eyes Wide Shut long. But
cool.
Yeah, I would definitely give that one a watch because it's great. And it's on Netflix, so it's, like, easy to watch. So we've talked about queer repressed cowboys. Let's talk some more about repressed men in the erotic thriller that we watched. And thank you. I was really proud of that transition. But
that's a good one.
What erotic thriller are we talking about today, Turi?
Well, Tommy did a bad thing.
He did.
We're talking Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick's final film. Debatable whether it's the cut that he wanted to show or not, because he died, like, I think 6 days after turning the cut in.
I can't. That's
if I remember correctly.
Crazy.
And so, like, there have been debates as to whether this is the cut that he wanted people to see, and it's definitely not the cut that he... Even if this is the final cut that he wanted to see, it's not the cut that he wanted everyone to see, because the studio, in order to get an R rating, had to digitally insert people into the infamous orgy sequence so that we don't see people fucking.
Ooh.
But I haven't seen this movie since I saw it in the movie theaters. I had a different reaction to it then than I do now, but I am mostly curious to hear what you thought about it, Mary Beth.
Well, I live tweeted Terry this whole thing. I took an edible and just started texting Terry. I was like, all right, we're just going to do this. It's my favorite activity. I love watching movies and talking to Terry about them because it's just fun. And I tweeted out a screenshot of when we finished the end. And fun fact, someone retweeted that I don't know and was like, if you really watch this movie, you would be reading about it, not texting about it. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean, bruh? Like, who are you?
Excuse me? What is up with men this week, by the way? I saw another tweet of yours that someone responded to when you were like about getting vaxxed, and it was like this asshole.
He called me a bitter old broad, and I was like, thank you so much.
Aww.
I blocked him. I was like, I'm not engaging with you. Like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Get vaccinated, you moron.
What is it with men? Men are dumb.
Anyway. Men are stupid on Twitter. Leave me alone. Just want to tweet about movies and bees. This might be one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's weird to say because I feel like it sounds like I'm just hopping on the Kubrick train, and I'm not usually... I like Kubrick, but I'm not usually one of those people. But this is an incredible movie that I haven't stopped thinking about, and is... I don't know, man. It's fucking powerful, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I want to say about it. So many thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely want to dig in with that because my thoughts have definitely changed.
I want to hear about that.
I saw this in the movie theaters in 1999 when it was released. Which again, 1999.
Oh my god,
was a banger year for cinema.
Golden year for cinema. I also watched The Matrix last night, which is also from 1999.
Exactly. So I went into this. I remember being very disappointed in this movie but again, I was an 18-year-old horny teenager that just wanted to see Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise fuck.
Well, too bad you don't get that, motherfucker.
You sure do not.
Don't. You sure
And then I had
don't.
also heard, whispers about the orgy scene. And then I was like, horny 18-year-olds like, ooh,
Yeah.
I'm excited for that too.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, that's nothing. You see almost literally nothing at all other than like just full on female nudity, really. There's there's nothing. Because again, the digital insertions.
It's boobs and like a little bit of pubic hair.
So I was really disappointed because this was a 2-hour and 40-minute movie that...
Also, the orgy scene is like in the middle and it's like not the rest of the movie.
No, it sure isn't. And so the 18-year-old Terry was not impressed with Stanley Kubrick.
Honestly, though, like I would have thought the same thing if I saw this when I was 18. I'd be like, "What is this?" So yeah, no, I get that though.
I felt like there's this moment in The Simpsons where I think it's Nelson and I don't remember who else walk out of the movie theater and they look up at the billboard for the what's playing and it's Naked Lunch and he's like, I can see 2 things wrong with this title. And I'm just like, that's how I felt about this movie. Walked out and was like, lied to.
Okay, but it sounds like you're much more positive this time around.
Oh, I love this movie. I think this movie is interesting, intriguing. I think there's a lot of different ways you can read Tom Cruise's character in this. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different ways you can read about how Kubrick is talking about masculinity. Mm-hmm. All the men in this movie are gross. They're terrible people. They're horrible people. But they're different. It's presenting different ways. You have like his friend, Tom, I can't even remember what his name is. Bill's friend, Victor, played by Sidney Pollack, who is basically like, take care of this prostitute that I've hired because she's OD'd. He's gross. There's the man that's dancing with Nicole Kidman, who is trying so desperately to get into her dress. And it's like, it starts off kind of cute and he's very charismatic, but then it's also really kind of creepy. And then you have Bill, who is like so upset that the fact with his wife had an erotic dream about some man that like he goes on a bender of sorts, a sexual bender, I would say.
I have to say that Nicole Kidman's performance when she reveals like that fantasy, she has never been stoned in her entire life.
No.
She has never been stoned in her entire life.
Scene, I was like,
you're not laughing and screaming like that, you freak. But anyway, sorry, I just had to bring that up for a hot second because, like, girl, that is not it. Like, have you ever smoked a joint before? Oops.
But what I found interesting watching this time is how his sexual bender gets kicked off by him walking down the street, thinking about, like, imagining his wife with some military naval officer that they had met and that she's had revealed through the kind of iffy pot acting that she had like an erotic thoughts about. He's thinking about her, and then a group of guys walk down the street and call him a faggot, and they basically insult his manhood. And so it's like that was the tipping point. And all of a sudden, he seems to be on this quest to go prove his manhood and prove what he thinks is masculinity by trying to pay a prostitute to have sex with him, trying to go do this, trying to go do that, ends up discovering this man who is basically pimping out his daughter, it seems like, to, I don't know what's going on in that scene, but it's Lily Sobieski, which is weird to see.
Oh, that's right. I was like, I know you.
And then he ends up at the orgy, and then things kind of go south from there. But like, it's weird. It's interesting, especially when we consider how much like people talk about the misogyny of Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
And here's a movie that is kind of devoid. Like, Nicole Kidman's not in this movie much at all. And yet I would say this movie is more about misogyny than it is about anything else. But that's how I was reading it. What were your thoughts?
So the thing I focused on a lot was sex workers and like the females and all of the sex workers in this are explicitly female. So I'm going to be talking about those kinds of like that gender when it comes to sex work here. And this narrative of them being commodities, because you have I have like the cast list pulled up, so I don't forget anyone's name. You have Victor has the sex worker who overdoses in his bathroom, and he's just like, I have to sit with her while she like comes out from an overdose. Like, I don't have time for that. And like and then we have Bill, who's like, you need to go to rehab, you need to get better. So there's these two perspectives here around sex workers. They're disposable, and that he can, or a man can save them. And that's a lot of this movie in my head, because Bill, whenever he's with the sex worker, tries to be like the nice guy. Like, look, I brought you baked goods. Oh, I'm going to pay you anyway. Like, I'm going to be really nice to you. And like, I'm a nice guy. I'm not a bad guy. And then you kind of find out that during like this, in this ginormous house, the women being used in these orgies and these weird rituals are sex workers. And while all of the men are in masks and in robes and they're completely hidden, these women are only wearing masks but are in black thongs and are otherwise completely naked. Mm-hmm. And they are the centerpiece of this ritual, and they are to be ogled at, and they are to be like used. And then that, you know, that gets even more apparent in the orgy scene, where they're all just like, all of the women are fucking and all of the people watching are men, and there are men fucking them too, but it's just like they're on display. And one of the sex workers like with this incredible mask, it tells Tom Cruise's character, like, you shouldn't be here, like, you need to leave. And he says things like, come with me. He does not know this woman, does not know what she looks like, and he is trying to save her. And he's like, it's basically that, like, I can save her, I can fix her kind of thing. And she's like, no, son, nah, son, like, it's not happening. And then there's this scene in the morgue with the corpse that I was like incredibly weirded out by. So he basically finds out that the sex worker, he thinks that the sex worker had an overdose and was killed somehow, whatever. So he goes to see her body, which is really creepy. He never saw her face, and he pretends to be her doctor to go see her in a morgue and her dead body. And they pull out her body, and he's just watching it and kind of getting close to it and like almost smelling it and crying over it. And it's this that reminded me so much of like the obsession with dead women, and how like he doesn't see her as a person, but as a thing he projected his desire on, and that he could have saved. Like, he could have prevented this death from happening. And so her death becomes all about him, not her. And her body is just an object for him, again, to project upon, even though she's dead and he thinks he's being empathetic. It's so selfish. And it's like his empathy, which is actually selfishness, but he thinks he's a great guy. And like that just is a current throughout this movie that is fascinating, especially in how he interacts with sex workers and wants to be like, I am such a good person and I want to free the women, even though none of them indicate wanting to have, like, none of them like admit to it. And I don't know. That's a very long, like a long-winded way of talking about, but like that's kind of how I was like watching a lot of the movie, through the lens of how he interacted with these sex workers who have sex for money and are treated like commodities or like put on a pedestal. Basically, they're never seen as women or as people. They're things. Which speaks to male perspective. And I at first wanted to be like, fucking misogynist Kubrick. And then the more I watched it, I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I'm big enough to admit that I was wrong. And I think it's much deeper than that.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that I feel like I would have to watch it with more of because I wasn't expecting this going into this time, but I think there's probably some queer subtext here with Tom Cruise's character.
Yes, you were talking about that. I want to hear more.
Oh, I don't really have like a full thing thought out, but like it all, I mean, it all starts with him being called a faggot, and then it goes on his like quest to prove that he's not, it feels like, in some way, because that's like the tipping point. It's after that moment in the street where he like goes on this crusade to like, he goes to Vanessa Shaw, by the way, playing the
incredibly glamorous sex worker who has
Domino.
a shitty apartment.
Her outfit, when she was taking off her coat and she was dressed, I was like, oh, she needs to be in that Toxic video by Britney Spears, because she looks like she is that like flight attendant in that that's what she was dressed as. But I think that there's like an idea, because I think that the movie posits his relationship with Victor, Sidney Pollack's character, as like, this is the man that he wants to be. Like, has an even more lavish house than he does, even though Tom Cruise's house or apartment in New York, like, hello, except for the kitchen.
Yeah, that kitchen was weird. But
like, that kitchen is quaint.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, you all want to be rich, but like, this is a big fucking apartment. Like, this is a nice place to live. Like, And Sidney Pollack's apartment was like not even an apartment. I didn't even understand what was happening in that home. It was just like a labyrinth.
That has like a statue garden in it. It sounded like, because that's where the one dude wanted to take Nicole Kidman at one point. But I think that there's something here between the idea of like, Tom Cruise and what Tom Cruise, what Bill wants and what he has. And I think that he feels the need to kind of force to fight against this idea that maybe inside, maybe he is a little queer. And so he goes on this whole nightmarish journey to find himself. And by the end of the movie, he's put in his place pretty much by Nicole Kidman. And such a glorious final line. Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about it more, and I want to maybe rewatch the movie because I wasn't approaching it with through a queer lens when I first started watching it. And then I was like, wait, what's going on here? Because there's just so much in this 2-hour and 40-minute movie, but that flies by. I think
it does. I was really surprised of how quickly it flew past. I was like, I texted Derry. I was like, wait, how have 2 hours passed already? Like, where did those 2 hours go? Like, it goes by. It is paced so well that you forget that it's a long movie. Can't say that for all of Kubrick's movies, but... but yeah, this is an incredible swan song that was apparently took 15 months to film, and god damn it, is Kubrick a dickhead director. Sorry, dude, but, like, good lord, you put your actors through hell and back.
Yeah, I remember reading at the time that, well, I mean... there's probably more reasons to it than this movie, but that this movie kind of caused Nicole and Tom to go to marriage counselors and talk through it. Because I have a feeling that there's like that Kubrick wanted them to get real, because we know how he treats his cast.
Well, I think I was reading a bunch about this afterward. To that fucking dude who was telling me not to text about it and read about it, I was asshole. Kubrick wanted it to be like a more realistic portrayal of marriage. So like having the couple play the married couple would like lend some authenticity to it. And Jesus, I can't even imagine the dark places they had to go, because Kubrick does like so many takes. Apparently they had like 95 takes for one scene of Tom Cruise walking through a door, and he like wants to break down his actors. I'm like, ooh, that's shitty. Ugh. So it's like the product is gorgeous, but is it worth it? Good lord. But
one final note, Nicole Kidman has never looked better than in this movie.
Oh my god.
There's a scene where she's wearing her glasses and she's on her table and her fingers like next to her mouth and she's just sitting there staring.
I took a screenshot of that.
Step on me.
I know, I was like, can you look at me like that? And then give me a little kiss on the forehead and then step on my throat.
Yeah, get you someone who looks you the way Nicole Kidman looks at pretty much everyone in this movie.
Like, how could you, like, not want to, like, fuck her all the time? That's terrible. I'm so sorry. But, like, in that relationship, like, it's not believable to me that he would not, like, want to have sex with his wife.
Like, you're really going to seek an orgy when you have Nicole Kidman at home?
To his credit, I don't think he knew it was an orgy.
No. But he probably knew.
He also made, some big efforts to get into that fucking thing so bad. Anyway. We could talk about this movie forever.
We really could.
But we don't.
But it's great.
We don't have the
it's
time.
Christmas set. I think there's probably something to talk about there with the whole.
I've been thinking about it a lot, but
of Christmas.
Save that for another podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Watch that movie with your family, y'all. It'll be great.
First date movie.
Grandma will love that movie.
Oh yeah. Perfect movie for Christmas holiday.
Great. Gather the cousins around. But anyway, so Terry, what is our next erotic thriller?
So we're going to continue with this theme of adultery, and we're going to watch Adrian. I'm not sure if his last name is Line or Lynn, but Adrian Lynn or Lines, 2002, Unfaithful, with Diane Lane, Richard Gere, and Olivier Martinez's immaculate cheekbones. He has some model cheekbones in this movie, let me just say.
Fuck yes. I'm so excited. And it's going to be sexy and about infidelity. Hooray.
But what are we chatting on Monday, Mary Beth?
On Monday is this little special episode because we are chatting with ourselves and doing our best of 2021. So we'll be talking about our favorite movies, our favorite moments, some of the things we're most excited for. So give that a listen. It's a longer one, but it's great because we just kind of review our year in movies. And we in talking to each other, remember that we forgot a bunch of movies that came out in 2020.
Boy, did we. There's a lot of, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, so we still shout them out, though. So give that a listen on Monday. Okay, everybody, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Did you watch a film that we watched and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for movies for us to talk about? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I'm at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. It is Christmas, so if you want to get us a little present, a review would be really nice on iTunes.
Thank you, Eric Power, for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. Stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.